Spooler and welcome to Shire Travels. In this one, we are heading to Fiji. This is somewhere very close to our hearts. This is where Tom and I met. This is where we later got married. And we're heading back there next year. We're in the middle of planning our trip there. So I thought it was an ideal time to go through the ins and outs of the mainland, the Mamanuca Islands and the Yasawa Islands. If you don't know, Fiji is located in the South Pacific from Australia's east coast. It's around 4 or 5 hours flight time and you can fly there directly. You can also fly there directly from Los Angeles in America as well. Fiji is made up of 333 islands, most of which are uninhabited. It is a tropical paradise and we love it. Now the best time of year to go, it really is an all year round destination. The only thing to be aware of is between December and March, April, it can be a little bit rainier. Fiji has also experienced some cyclones in the past, so that's just something to be aware of. For the most part, Fiji's weather is beautiful. Lovely and warm. They really do not get cold weather over there. They also don't get the kind of extreme heats that other countries get. It really is an awesome destination all year round. We have visited in May and September. Both times we went. Sometimes it was a little bit overcast, cloudy, but it didn't rain at all. And even when it was cloudy, it was still warm enough to go swimming in the ocean. So let's talk about Nadi. This is a town that you'll most likely fly into when you're coming into Fiji. We haven't experienced that much of the mainland at all. We have only stayed in accommodation either near the airport or near the port before we head out to the island. We have had friends and family stay at various resorts on the mainland, particularly on the south near the Coral Coast. There's some really great family-friendly resorts down there and people say that they're really good. And compared to some of the resorts out on the islands, they can actually be a little bit cheaper too. There's a really wide range of accommodation options on the mainland. You have your budget backpacker options. There are some very high-end resorts as well. We've just chosen to stay in budget accommodation in the past, and that's what we'll be doing when we go next year. In saying that, even though it's budget, they're still really nice accommodations. They've always been clean, they've been safe, they've usually had a pool, and they've usually been beachfront as well. We've also found that getting around those main areas of the port and the airport has been really easy as well. The taxis there don't seem dodgy, they don't rip people off. So both times that we've been there, we've been heading out to the islands. So the Mamanucas and the Yasawas are the main group of islands there. Yasawas in the north, Mamanucas in the south. Now getting from, say, accommodation near Nadi town itself out to Port Dinnerale is easy enough. Okay, let's head out to those islands. Let's get that real tropical Fiji experience. One thing to keep in mind though, which I didn't know about until I got there, is Fiji time or island time. Now what that means is that everything pretty much just happens when it happens. That's the approach that the Fijians have to their everyday life. Now if you're someone like myself who, you know, if the tour says it's leaving at 9 o'clock and it's 9:01 and the tour's not going anywhere, you kind of think, oh no, like it's running late, come on, we gotta go. You need to just let it go. And this is something which I learned there. In particular, this applies to getting on and off the boat. So the South Sea Cruises boat and also the Yasawa Flyer. Sometimes they can run late, picking you up from resorts and dropping you either back to the mainland or to your next resort. Something to bear in mind if you are planning on getting the boat back to the mainland and then getting on a flight, it can be delayed. It might be an hour, it could be 2 hours. Just bear that in mind and maybe add in a buffer of a night on the mainland before you have to get on a flight or another cruise. Whatever it is, just remember Fiji time, island time. You kind of just have to sit back and accept that things are going to happen when they happen. The Mamanuca Islands are the southern islands. They are just to the west of Nadi. Not too far to go at all. A lot of the islands there can be reached in a couple of hours. The main boat operator out there is South Sea Cruises. Now they stop at heaps of resorts. Not all of them, but I would say most of them. They have a timetable that you can find online, find exactly how much it costs as well online, and book it all in advance. Really easy to navigate and would definitely recommend getting online and booking that before you arrive. So I'm going to talk you through the places that we've been to in the Mamanucas. So the first place where most boats stop when they head out of Nadi is to South Sea Island. South Sea Island is a tiny little island. It is very popular with day trippers from the mainland. The first time I went there, I was a little bit overwhelmed that there were so many people on this tiny island. But after the day trippers left, there were only 4 of us. One of those 4 other people I actually married. That's where Tom and I met. Now, even though it is a very small island, it does have lots of activities there. There are kayaks that you can go on, glass bottom boats. They've got dorm accommodation there, a bar, lots of different activities there, particularly if you're on a day trip. In the evening, when it was just the 4 of us left who were staying on the island, we just had dinner, drinks, and then we did some crab racing. This is not something that I had ever done before, but it became kind of a common thing to do at a lot of the resorts in Fiji. Is you go out to the beach, get yourself some hermit crabs, put them in the bucket, turn them upside down and watch them crawl out. You have a chalk ring on the floor. First crab to cross the line wins. From South Sea Island, I then did a full day cruise out with Sea Spray. This is a boat which goes to a few different areas to do snorkeling, but the main attraction is that it visits Mamanuca Island. This is where Castaway was filmed, the film with Tom Hanks, where he's marooned on an island for years and he has his volleyball friend Wilson. This was a full day tour, included morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea. It also included wine and beer and soft drinks as well, which was really good. You could also get snorkeling gear on there. They had commentary and guides on the boat. They also had staff that would guide you in the water as well for snorkeling, and took us on to Mamanuca Island as well. The other thing we did on that tour was a village visit. Now this was really good, and I would definitely recommend doing a village visit either as part of a tour, or if you're at a resort, they often offer this as well. This was really special. We sat down with the chief of the village and had a kava ceremony. Now, if you don't know what kava is a root of a tree. It gets put into a bag and then put in water and kind of massaged in the water in the bag. And then the properties of the roots go out into the water. You then have a bowl, which I'm pretty sure is a coconut bowl, scoops up the water and everyone goes around and shares it. As part of the ceremony, there are lots of things that you have to do in kind of a particular order in terms of you need to clap before you drink. You also have to hand it to people in a certain way as well. It's really interesting. I've definitely get involved in one of those ceremonies as you can. As well as the kava ceremony, they also had some crafts there that they were selling. So I bought a few little pieces of jewelry, and it was really great just going out to a authentic Fijian village and getting to see day-to-day island life. The snorkeling on the tour from memory was pretty good. I don't have any digital footage from it. That's how long ago this tour was, but I do have some pictures that were taken on an underwater disposable camera. So this is an example of the quality. One thing that was really cool though was as we were sailing along, we saw dolphins. It's the first time I've actually ever seen dolphins in the wild. It was really cool to see them swimming along, jumping out the water alongside the boat. The next island is Beachcomber Island. Now, when I did this trip, it was part of a package with Awesome Adventures Fiji. So they do lots of packages all the way up to the Yasawa Islands. But at the time that I did it, they actually stopped at Beachcomber as well. And for most people, this was usually the last resort they went to on their trip with Awesome Adventures. I think it was the last island on the trip because it was a party island. It was really fun place to be. Nothing too crazy. It is a backpacker island for sure. It's got a huge big dorm in the middle of the island. I feel like it sleeps up to like 100 people or something. And then they had another big area where you ate and there was the bar there. And in the evening they had heaps of activities. Now I can't remember exactly what the activities were, but I remember that they were in abundance. Crab racing was definitely one of them, and I remember it being quite high stakes. But they also had like music, you could sit out on the beach as well. Really good atmosphere. The beaches were beautiful, the water was a beautiful aqua color, and it was a really good fun backpacker resort. The next resort that I'm going to tell you about is my favorite resort that I have ever stayed at. This is Tadrai Resort. It is on Mana Island or Tavua Island. We stayed here after we got married. Tom and I eloped on Tadrai Island up in the Yasawas. Now the Yasawas and the Mamanucas aren't actually directly connected with a ferry. You have to go back to the mainland or via South Sea Island, which can take a long time. So Tadrai is 3 hours from the mainland. So to save ourselves pretty much a whole day of travel, we booked a seaplane to fly us from Tadrai down to Tadrai Resort. It was very expensive, but we eloped, so we didn't spend money on a big wedding, so we could basically save money. We flew down there by seaplane, as well as Tadrai Resort. There's also Mana Island Resort on the other side of the island. They were not very happy that we arrived by seaplane because American Survivor was actually being filmed there at that time. It was the quickest seaplane landing departure, chucked us off, chucked our bags off, took off again. Quick as it could, we actually had to land on like a different part of the island and then get a boat round. Tadrai resort is just incredible. So Tadrai is Fijian for dream. And when we arrived there, we're on the boat coming towards the island. They had staff there singing us the welcome song. We go up to the main area where there's some tables for dining and the pool area. And they sit us down and they talk us through, just the two of us, everything about the resort. And the first thing they say is that Tadrai is Fijian for dream. And their goal is to make our dreams come true. And so anything we want, anything basically our heart desires, they will try their best to make it happen. And then they passed us a pillow menu and said, can you please let us know what type of pillow you would like for your room? They passed us a minibar menu and said, please tick whatever alcohol and soft drinks you want for your minibar and we'll fill them all up. Tadrai Resort, there are only 5 beach birds there. A bird is like a little holiday unit, holiday house. They only have 5. The maximum number of people they can have at the resort at any time is 10 people. Then you get taken to your beach bar. They were just amazing. So really nice big bedroom area, and then outside was a small deck area with a day bed and table and chairs. And then you had your own plunge pool as well, which was a really good sign. It looked directly over the beautiful beach, palm trees, sun lounges, turquoise water, incredible. It also had a huge outdoor bathroom. So you can see in some of these pictures, the massive bath that they have there. Then behind that, there was a shower, which was kind of outside, and then a toilet to the side as well. It is definitely the most luxurious, amazing accommodation that we have stayed in. But as if that wasn't enough, up at the main area of the resort, there was a huge undercover area with like a triangle roof. I'll put lots of pictures in now, with some dining tables and chairs, and then bean bags and sun lounges and a huge infinity pool. Now, for most of the time that we were there was only one other couple, and I think we must have seen them maybe for an hour at the pool at the same time as us. Most of the time, Tom and I had this gigantic infinity pool to ourselves. We were just going back to the bar, getting fabulous cocktails, jumping back in the pool. It was amazing. They had dining at set times during the day, and they also had a breakfast menu, which I'm pretty sure was just a continental breakfast from memory. For lunch and dinner, there were no menus. You pretty much just told them what you felt like eating and they would go and make it. It was really, really strange. And neither Tom or myself are foodies. So for us, we were like, oh, whatever's just not too much trouble, whatever you think's best. But it was unreal. I've never been to somewhere like that before. But of course, they weren't going to accept that. And one of the nights there, they said to Tom, would you like a lobster? And he was like, of course. And so he had this huge lobster. And then they said, oh, would you like us to set you up with a candlelit table down on the beach? Yeah, of course. Some resorts charge you extra for those sorts of things, but at Tadrai, they were just suggesting it. They did it free of charge. Nothing was too much trouble for them. It really felt like they would just do anything to make their guests happy. Now, we didn't do too much while we were there because we were only there for a couple of days. We did go up to the top of the resort on a hill to see sunset. Beautiful, long, I think it's wheatgrass or something like that. And when the sun's setting, it just glows orange. And in the pictures, I thought, that looks fabulous. Talked to the staff at the resort and said we wanted to go up there. They said, yeah, no problem. One of our staff will go with you. Mainly because they were filming Survivor, so they just had to make sure that we weren't going anywhere we shouldn't be, that they'd be filming this remote Survivor scene and then Tom and I would be in the background, you know, taking a selfie or whatever. So we went up there at sunset, beautiful, took some nice pictures, watched the sunset over all the islands. And then the staff member we were with said, do you want to go down and see the village that's on the other side and have a little look at the beach? And then we started heading back to resort as it was getting quite dark. As we're walking back, we bump into people who are working with the Survivor team there. And they were actually doing, I don't know if it was a challenge or tribal council. It might have been tribal council because it was at night. So we had to wait for them to stop filming before we could very quickly basically run behind where they were to get back to the resort. And we had torches on us, and there was a point where we had to switch off all our torches and stand in silence and went for a radio call to say that we could move. It was very funny, very surreal. Nevertheless, we made it back to our resort, had a lovely dinner. We had a fire on the beach. We also did a carver ceremony as well, which was really cool. And then the next day we went out to a sandbar. This was maybe about 20 minutes from the resort. Beautiful sandbar out in the middle of the ocean. They took us a couple of chairs, an umbrella, a picnic basket, a esky full of ice and wine, and proper glasses they took with us. Tom took a bottle of rum and some Coke. They set us all up really well, gave us snorkeling gear, towels, everything, got us completely set up there. They did leave one staff member with us who kind of just sat by himself on the other side of the island in the sun. I felt quite bad for him, but he had a radio to speak to the staff back on the resort. Such a beautiful spot. We just relaxed, swam in the beautiful turquoise water. I can't get over just how turquoise the water is there. I also decided to drown the gown, so drown my wedding dress. It was a really, really beautiful spot. After a few hours, we told them that we were ready to head back. They radioed, picked us up, and took us back on the boat. They also offered us a little sunset cruise, so we just did pretty much a lap of the island once we were allowed to after they had stopped filming. Watched the sunset for a bit. Really beautiful. Again, all these things, all these extras, going out to the sandbar, doing this little boat cruise, all included. Most times it was staff suggested to us, hey, do you want to go and do this? Do you want to go and do that? Just next level, especially because some of the other resorts that we've been to, absolutely everything there is a paid activity. For a lot of the islands, kayaks and snorkeling, stand-up paddleboarding, almost everything they have is an extra cost. So to be somewhere where everything is included was just amazing. Tadrai is definitely a resort which I think flies under the radar. If you are looking for a luxury, all-inclusive resort to go to, particularly for a honeymoon, this is a resort I would highly, highly recommend it. The resort as well is all-inclusive, and it is truly all-inclusive. And the reason I say that is that there are plenty of resorts out there, not just in Fiji, who say they're all-inclusive but don't include alcohol. Now, for some people that may not be an issue at all, but personally I feel like when you're spending a ton of money, so Tadrai Resort for example, $2,000 a night, it is nice to just be able to eat and drink whatever you want and not worry about having a bill at the end of it. Now coming back to the price, $2,000 a night. We stayed there for 2 nights. Luckily for us, I think 2 nights was their minimum stay. If their minimum stay had been 3 or 5 nights, there's no way we would have been able to afford it. How we managed to afford staying there for 2 nights? Well, Tom, fortunately, several months before we left for the trip, won a $2,000 Jetstar holiday vouchers through an Instagram competition. Now, they often have good deals on luxury escapes. See if they've got any good deals on there. I cannot recommend it enough. I could honestly talk all day about how amazing this resort is. The last place that we have been to in the Mamanucas is Cloud 9. Cloud 9 is a floating pizza bar. It is the stuff of dreams. If you love azure, tropical water, if you love pizza and cocktails, being out in the sun, this is the place for you. There are day trips that leave from Port General. There are also day trips from some resorts as well. So book on Cloud9's website directly. Now it isn't super cheap. I think it was maybe around 250 Fiji dollars. However, I think $60 or $80 of that is like a voucher that you can use when you get there to put towards food or drink or merchandise. They only allow around 100 people there. Now it's not the biggest place and it can be a little bit squishy, but it's not too bad. They have really good pizzas there, great cocktails, they have DJs there, different events throughout the year. You can snorkel off there as well. In the afternoon we found the tide drop down heap that you could swim for a little bit and then you could actually walk, and so you're just walking around in the middle of the ocean next to this floating pizza bar. It really is a cool, surreal experience. There's toilets on there as well. There's also day beds, table and chairs, and then they have a section up the top which has got kind of sun lounges, deck chairs on there. Great snorkeling. You can actually jump off the top of it as well and do backflips, which is very popular. So I definitely recommend it. It is a really fun way to spend a few hours. That wraps up part 1 of our Fijian adventure. Next week I will be bringing you to the Yasawa Islands, the islands north of the Mamanucas, and taking you through the boat transfer and all the different resorts that we've stayed at there.